Searching and applying to graduate and professional school. Today you'll learn about why you should go and why you shouldn't go to graduate school. Consider what's most important to know about university's graduate school and also what matters most to you. How to know the steps to prepare for graduate school and what's required to apply. And finally, how to connect with on-campus resources. Today's competencies, we're going to be looking at these transferable skills that are related to your industry. A competency is basically the knowledge and behavior that you gain while you're learning and how you will be able to apply those typical behaviors in a successful job. Thinking about competencies promotes your overall well-being and also gives you a great sense of purpose. And finally, employers in general highly value competencies, and being able to talk about these with employers will be part of the interview process. Today's competencies specifically will be focusing on your career and self-development and also critical thinking. So let's begin. Why do you want to go to graduate school? Some individuals, they want to go to graduate school mainly because they enjoy learning. It's a particular subject that they're very curious about, and they want to go as deep as they possibly can. Others might want to advance in their field, maybe get a higher level position in the future. Maybe it's just a long-term goal of achievement. They've always wanted to get a particular degree, and this is part of that plan. They also might want to change careers, and so by being able to get a graduate degree, they might be able to shift in their career path. Some reasons why not to go to graduate school. A lot of times when, especially students who don't know exactly what they want to do after college, sometimes they decide to jump directly into a graduate program. But this can be really tricky because if you don't really know what you want to study after college, it's very tricky to find the correct and the best fit for a graduate program. So just not knowing what to do after college is really not a great reason to jump into a program. Also, sometimes people want to defer their loans, and if you're in graduate school, of course, you don't have to pay on those loans. But again, not a great reason to just decide to go to graduate school. You also may have friends going to graduate school and you just want to go with them. Again, not a great reason, especially if the program may not be the best fit for you. And also, you might be experiencing outside pressure. Maybe relatives or peers are asking you why you should not go to graduate school. And so you feel that pressure to maybe apply. But these are, again, some of the reasons you really should not go to graduate school. Graduate school in general takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of research. So as you start thinking about whether graduate school is a good fit for you or not, consider the following questions. Is a graduate degree required in your field of interest? Do you actually need a master's or doctorate to be able to do what you want to do? What is the financial commitment to further education? Again, whether it would be a master's program or a doctorate program, what is that financial commitment? Are scholarships, grants, other types of financial aid available? And if so, which schools have those? Do you feel personally ready to go to graduate school, or do you feel a little bit burned out from your college experience? Would it be healthy for you to take some time off? Are you certain of the degree you want to pursue and why? So things to consider. Let's break this down a little bit more. So these are the following things that you'll really need to think about as you're researching graduate schools. So admission, standard fees, and the cost of program. And of course, this can differ whether you are an in-state student or whether you are an out-of-state student. So obviously, if you're an out-of-state student, the tuition will be either double and sometimes triple the cost of an in-state student. So make sure you're fully aware of how much the standard fees of both the program, housing, anything else that's associated with the program will be before you decide to jump into that program. Also do research on the type of test scores as well as the GPA requirements. There are some programs that may not allow you in to a particular program unless you have a 3.0 or above. Other programs might be a little bit more flexible on that. So make sure you're doing that detailed research. Also, to really choose a program that's a good fit for you, look into the faculty. What is their research area? What are their credentials? Faculty mainly love to teach what they're very good at and what their personal research is in. So for instance, if you're going into a psychology program, and you really need to look at the faculty's research within the field of psychology to see if their interests align with yours, because what their research is in is primarily what you'll be learning in the classroom. If you start noticing that a lot of faculty are not teaching or doing research in the areas that are interesting to you, that may not be a really good fit for a program. Also look into the reputation of both the program as well as the university. Are they in the news recently? Where are other, for instance, students going after the program? Are they getting hired by certain companies? So just do a little bit of research on the overall culture fit of the university itself. What type of campus support services do they offer? Do they also have a career center? Do they have counseling support? Do they have financial aid services that you can meet with someone about your financial aid package? Are there assistantships? There's so many different questions, and does the campus have resources that can support you? Also, you need to think about living options. Are you able to live on campus? Do you need an apartment nearby? Would you want to have a house or even live with family? So start thinking about these, because a lot of times the living option can add on to the cost of graduate school by quite a large margin. Other things to consider: the geographic location. A lot of students, after both their undergraduate and graduate experiences, normally remain around the university that they attended. So not always, but a lot of times they do. The main reason for this is they do a lot of networking. They have a lot of friends in the area. A lot of times they've established sort of their rhythm and their own personal experience in the city that they're living in. And so they've made it their home. So if you really don't want to move to a particular state or a particular city, you don't see yourself there for long term, you may not want to go to a school that's in the heart of that city. So really think about, where would you want to live for the next 5 to 10 years? Because if you don't enjoy the geographic location, that again may not be the best university for you to attend. Also think about the alumni connections. Are there any people from UNC Charlotte that potentially have gone into this particular university and even program at this other graduate school? So even making those connections and learning about the program and the university from a different perspective could be really helpful. Also think about the duration of program. Is this program just a couple of years? Is it longer than 3 or 4 years? Is it a track program that takes you through both a master's and a doctorate program? So really think about the duration of the program. Can you sustain that time period over the next few years, or would it be wiser for you to take a quick break? Also, for those of you who are interested in research, there will be lots of research opportunities at various universities. Some universities will have more than others. Are there opportunities, though, at the institution you're considering for you to do research? Think about diversity and inclusion. How diverse is the university? Do you feel comfortable there? Just as you did with undergrad, it would be a really good idea to actually go to the university and be able to walk around and see what it feels like to be there on campus. Do you feel like you would make friends there? Do you feel supported? And then also, are there opportunities to gain practical experience? This could be through clinical practice, in classroom practice, research, teaching, any way that you would be able to get your feet wet in the area that really matters to you. So look into these opportunities at different universities to see if they exist, and whether, again, that program could be a really good benefit to your long-term career goals. So one thing to do is I want you to think about the following questions by yourself. Are you thinking about going to graduate school? If so, what program are you considering and why? How will this graduate program help you achieve your career goals? And what is the most important thing to you when choosing a program or school to attend? Take time to process this information. So let's talk now about preparation for graduate school. There is a lot of research needed, as we've already discussed, researching where it's located, who are the faculty, what does the program entail, what are the courses you'll be able to take. There's a lot of research that goes into this to make sure it's a good fit. So some of the things you can do to do a little bit of research is you can start by looking at professional organizations. So for instance, if you're going into the marketing field, you can look at different marketing organizations and some of what they recommend as far as degree types, schools, etc. You can also check out gradschools.com and Peterson's, which are two really great websites, to do exploration on which graduate schools have a variety of programs in the area that you're looking at. Once you've done that research and narrowed it down to a few schools, then you're able to actually dive deeper into program websites themselves. Make sure you're reading all of the fine print. Normally, departments do a very good job of listing out everything that you'll need for the application, so make sure you're not just skimming through those websites. And then finally, think about how you can network with alumni from those specific programs. The students themselves who have gone before you into these programs will give you a really good idea of the type of program it is, what they really loved, what they were challenged by, and they can provide some really good tips on how you can also be successful. So let's briefly talk about types of degrees. So at the master's level, you might see different acronyms like MFA or MA or MS or MED. These usually take 1 to 3 years depending on the program and how accelerated it is. The MFA stands for Masters of Fine Arts. The MA stands for Master of Arts, MS, Master of Science, MED, Master of Education. You also have law degrees, which usually are 3 to 4 years. You'll see those listed as JD. Then you have different medical degrees. These often take 8+ years because of residency. Other type of doctorate degrees also range in the amount of years that they take, usually 4 to 8 years depending on the years of research. And you will see things like PhD, even EDD, or PsyD. I've listed a couple of standardized tests before, but these are a few of the most common. So the MCAT is mainly for medical, the LSAT mainly for law school. The GMAT, the GRE, the MAT are all traditional tests that are done for a variety of different topics, as well as the DAT, which is mainly for dental. You will normally need 2 to 3 letters. They will need to be faculty, supervisors, and mentors. Make sure you consider the number of letters that you are requesting. Especially if you're applying up to 5 schools, they will need to write 5 separate letters, so make sure that they have enough time to do that. Also, it's very helpful for those who are recommending you to have a copy of your resume and personal statement. This helps them write that letter to the best of their ability because they have a clear idea of why you actually are applying for the program. It makes their recommendation letter so much stronger. Again, make sure the resume is tailored, the research or teaching experience that you might have done during your undergrad, any internships, projects that you've done, and once again, make sure that you get your resume reviewed here at the Career Center. With your portfolio, make sure that that showcases your work digitally. It could be through design, videography, writing. It could be many different things. And if they do want to see those things, you have to think about how to showcase those either through your own website or possibly a digital PDF. Make sure to tailor to program specifics. For instance, if you're going into an MFA for graphic design, you don't need to showcase everything you've done in graphic design, but mainly just those highlights. And also make sure that you don't go over the slide count if there is one for that program. Also make sure it's easy to navigate and showcase your brand, especially if it's a website. You don't want something to be 5 or 6 clicks away. You want it to be very easily accessible. And again, with your official transcript, this is something that you will need to do through the transcript office. You can go to ninercentral.charlotte.edu and request your transcript, either for a graduate program here at UNC Charlotte or outside of UNCC. You can find this in Banner, and thanks to UNC Charlotte, your transcripts are free. So the personal statement. This is what summarizes your goals and intent for applying to a specific program. It allows you to share your vision and also your writing skills. Think past, present, and future when writing your statement. What have you done in the past that led you to the idea of going in this particular direction? What have you been currently doing in the present? And what do you hope to do in the future after finishing this degree? Again, you can get your statement reviewed by people at the Career Center to make sure that everything is spelled correctly, grammatically is correct, and also just makes sense as far as your storytelling approach. So with financial assistance, we've talked a little bit about this, but again, look into those scholarships, fellowships, grants, Fulbright, etc. Make sure you're looking at assistantships, loans, different types of awards, and also some employers might actually reimburse you depending on if you are working for them or might want to work for them in the future. With graduate school interviews, these are usually panel with faculty or also one-on-one. Sometimes department heads will also enter into this process. These focus mainly on your career goals, commitment to your academics, the research interests that you have and potentially might want to pursue during your program, and also just what brings you to the program in general. It's okay to get a little personal, especially about geographic location or just the overall topic, but again, this is very similar to a job interview and needs to remain professional. As far as the timeline, we're looking at about a year. You have to start very early when it comes to graduate school, mainly because of the entrance exams. So usually in May, previous to actually graduating, you want to start researching schools and programs. You want to think about that practice entrance exam. You want to start getting books and getting prepared to be able to take that. A lot of times entrance exams will fill up very quickly, so making sure that you have that on the schedule ready to go. Usually between June and August, while you're in summer break, that's a really good time to take your entrance exam. This is also when you can start requesting program information from schools that you're interested in, taking time to go and visit schools and actually meeting with faculty and also current students. And then between September and October, you're finalizing, prioritizing your list of schools, looking at who your recommenders might be, providing them with your resume and personal statement, and then also requesting those official transcripts. Usually then in November, you're finalizing application materials, making sure scores are sent to each school, and then starting to apply for early entrance in some schools if that's an option. If not an option in November, December is also a really great time to apply for schools, verifying that your recommendations have been sent out accordingly, and also trying to keep up with all of the different copies of your submissions for your own records. A lot of times it will take a few months for you to hear back from schools whether you got in or not, and so this will just help you keep track of the timeline of the school themselves. But you can see that it almost takes about a year between starting to think about this process and actually hearing back from the school itself. So again, some of the things you want to think about here at UNC Charlotte is our Career Center has a lot of graduate school preparation tools. Please use these tools as you start considering graduate school. There's also a lot of exam preparation that you can access through continuing education, and you can find out that information on their website. So some of the final thoughts. Make sure that you visit campus to identify the fit. You might have the idea of what a program or what a university is like just based on social media or their website, but actually going and standing there and walking around meeting people is so important to make sure that it's a good fit for you. Again, talk with current students and faculty in the program to make sure that not only is it a good fit, but that their research, their goals kind of align with what you're looking at. Also apply to various tiers of schools and programs. So for instance, don't just apply to very competitive programs and schools across the country. Mix it up a little bit. Apply to some very competitive, maybe some slightly competitive, and then some less competitive. You want to be able to have a balance in applications because you just don't know how many students for a given year a program may actually allow into their program. So you don't want to spread yourself thin by just applying to very competitive schools. Also prioritize your top choices, very similar to a job search. Know where you really want to go, but if you have to make a decision for your number 2 or number 3 school, for instance, because you've not heard back from number 1, you may have to make those choices. So knowing what your priorities are will help narrow that down and give you a roadmap to make those choices. Also, it's very important for you to know all of your deadlines. Really map them out on a calendar. A lot of students actually miss out on their first year of graduate school because they missed key deadlines. So make sure you have all of those listed. And then also practice patience because this is a process. As we've seen from the timeline, this could take an entire year to prepare for. So just take your time and go step by step.